Welcome back to From the Shed End. Welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well on this Monday. I hope you all had a good weekend. And of course, tonight is match day 22 of the Premier League. Chelsea versus Wolves, Stamford Bridge, 8 p.m. kickoff. We are the last game of the week so far to speak in terms of match day 22. Now, we have got Wolves. We've got Wolves. Now, before we get into Wolves, who we do have a really good record against at Stamford Bridge, I do want to talk about a couple of things. The injuries, first of all. We know there's a couple of injuries coming up. We know that Levi Colwill, Cole Palmer, Romeo Lavia are all essentially doubts for this game. We know that Enzo Fernandez might be a doubt as well going into this game tonight. But we cannot afford, based on the results, based on how the results went, we cannot afford to let top four slip out the palms of our hands. We have to think only a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about potential title challenge. We were talking about 3 points, potentially even going top of the league before Christmas. And now we're talking about pushing back into the top four. It does show you what I said in the last video. And obviously, it's been a couple of days since then. I've been ill since then. We've had a weekend to reflect on things, and things have happened over time. We have recalled Trevor Chalobah in that space of time as well. But we have to get back into that top four. No ifs or no buts. Now, we got to see Man City last night, how well they played. I think it was 6-0 against Ipswich. Look, they're back in form. Pep Guardiola no longer, tied down to his relationship issues with his wife. Haaland signed a 9-year deal. Man City are back in full flow. They are back to business. They mean business. And guess what, guys? We play them. We play them next Saturday, 5:30 kickoff. So we have to, no ifs or buts, we have to win tonight. Tonight's game is just as important as next Saturday's game. More so because I feel like with Wolves, we have the opportunity to win the game. 3 points in the bag. Now we go to the Etihad next Saturday. That is not going to be any easy task. We know that already based on the fact that, as I said, Manchester City are in not the best, greater form, but we know based on our form at the Etihad that we don't have the best of run of games there. Now, as I said, we're playing Wolves. Wolves are a team. Let's look at the injury news to Wolves. Now, we do know that Wolves will potentially be without some of their key players as well. We know that Tuti Gomez potentially is out. Ensalo Gonzalez might be out as well. Kalaji might be out as well. So, Babakare Traore is a doubt. Mateus Cunha missed the last game due to illness as well. So, there are potential issues with Wolves that we can hopefully use to our strengths and get the 3 points tonight against Wolves. But we also, as I said, we have our own doubts, our own doubtful issues. Cole Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, Levi Colwill, Romeo Lavia are all doubts. We know that Michaela Mudryk, still waiting for the B sample, is out of this game. We know that Wesley Fofana, Keenan Dewsbury Hall and Benoit Badiashile are also going to miss this game tonight. So there are a lot of question marks around, not just Chelsea, but also Enzo Fernandez, because one of the things I spoke about last week was his tactical understanding of how and when he needs to adapt and change things at this club. During the games, when he needs to change things, if we're losing, if we're not looking like we're going to score, then we have options on the bench. We've got so many options on the bench. We can't afford to allow Wolves the opportunity to take points off us tonight. We just can't with City waiting in the wings on Saturday. We have to get this game under the scruff of the neck, get it by the scruff of the neck, and score goals tonight. That's what I'm expecting. Now, we're currently 6th in the league. Man City are 4th, Newcastle 5th. Now, if we do win this game, it will take us to the 40-point mark. That will put us back into the top 4 conversation. But again, as I keep saying, Manchester City are there again. To have to go and play them on Saturday and get 3 points is no easy task. So this is the game that we have to take and understand that this is probably more relevance, more importance than the City game in a couple of days' time. Now, Maresca hasn't really come out and give us any updates about those injuries to Cole Palmer, to Enzo Fernandez. We don't know whether they're going to be featuring tonight, whether they're able to play, but we have to bank on the fact that they will be available to play, because one of the key issues for me, one of the key areas with issues for me is definitely our midfield. If Fernandez isn't available, we know that Caicedo's fit and hopefully ready to start the game. But if he's not fully fit to start this game, we might have to risk him. Lavia, we still don't really understand how long his injury is going to be. We might have to start questioning that whole deal from his move from Southampton, because we spoke about Reece James and the injuries he's got. We've sold Mason Mount, who looks like he's now injury prone as well. But Romeo Lavia might be in that same conversation for me, because This is not the first time we've seen. I think I can't remember if I read the stat right, but he's played 3 games for us since his signing or something. He's in, I can't remember the stat, but it's such a crazy stat for a player with £50 million worth. You know, a young player with these big injuries that's keeping him sidelined from the game for so long. It just doesn't look good for him as a player. It doesn't look good for us in terms of the money that we spent. But it also goes back to my video last week. The owners, the sporting directors have to go and find the nearest mirror. Go to the toilets at Cobham. Go straight into it. There should be a big mirror in Cobham's toilet, surely. Go and look in the mirror. The sporting directors, Paul Winstanley, Lawrence Stewart. Now, I did see a lot of things on the internet at the weekend about, you know, pulling up his family's timeline and, you know, exposing his wife on the internet. I don't agree with that at all. You know, I think when there's a thin line in football where we start taking things from just a footballing perspective to actual social abuse, where we're locating, you know, the sporting director's wives and his kids and, you know, putting them at risk, to be fair. You know, I don't agree with that at all. I think what we should be doing, though, is addressing and holding these people accountable for their roles at the club. Now, Lawrence Stewart, Paul Winstanley clearly have not done enough. A lot of the transfers, as I went through, I think it was 35 signings, if you include, 36 signings that we've done, if you include the loan for João Felix, as well as the purchase for him. If you include those 36 purchases that they've done, those transfers activities, only 3 of them, in my opinion, are good enough. Cucurella, Cole Palmer, and who was the third one? And Moises Caicedo. The only 3, in my opinion, that are good enough. Now, massive conversation about the midfield if Enzo Fernandez is not fit enough to play in this game. For me, who do you play there if Lavia is not fit? Keenan Dewsbury Hall looks like he's on his way out. We know that Cesare Casadei is edging closer to a move away from Chelsea as well. So who do you bring in? Who do you put into that midfield? Who do you have there? Do you put Renato Vega at left back and have him inverted into the midfield? Do you drop, I don't know, who else do you put there? It might have to be Vega, and Cucurella plays the left back role if Fernandez is not fit for the game tonight. But we'll have to see. Let's fingers crossed that Enzo Fernandez is fully fit. We're going to go through my predicted lineup very shortly. But one key area as well that we have to discuss on here today is Reece James. Reece James came off the bench, scored the winner scored the equaliser against Bournemouth. We were hanging by a thread in that game. He came on and he scored the equalising goal. Really good free kick. Now, Reece James has been on the bench a couple of times now. He's looked fresh when he's come on. There might be Chelsea fans that do not agree with this, but we have to now risk Reece James. We have to see if he can get through 90 minutes tonight, because guess what, guys? We're going to need him on Saturday against Man City, 100%. Doku was relatively good yesterday. The same for Jack Grealish when he came on and Doku went to the right. But we have to get Reece James through 90 minutes tonight. We can't expect him to play 90 minutes on Saturday without a 90 minutes under his belt. We play tonight, we play again on Saturday, which is a quick turnaround. But nonetheless, we still need to see Reece James. For me personally, we have to risk him and put him in the lineup tonight. I don't think Malo Gusto, for me, has done enough. I don't think Enzo Maresca's that keen on him either. We know that Joshua Chiempong has played a couple of games now in the Premier League, but again, we have to manage his minutes, I think, wisely and not give him every game. He doesn't need to play every minute of every game or every second of every minute of every game, but he does still need the game time. And I think this would be a game that I wouldn't play Joshua Chiempong. I think I would change things, which we'll get onto shortly with my predicted lineup in terms of who would start where. But I think Reece James has to start, because when he came on against Bournemouth, he was the difference. He made things tick and click going forward. Like I said, he got the equalising goal as well. He can pick out those passes, which we have lost a lot of that, especially going down that right side. The frustration with Noni Madueke 9 times out of 10. We know now that Enzo Maresca has come out and said he doesn't like his fullbacks to overlap, but I still think with Reece James, he's still going to be able to deliver the service into the box. He's still defensively quite good as well, and I think we're going to need that going up against Wolves. Regardless of who they start with, from a Wolves perspective, we're going to need Reece James in that defensive line tonight, I think. I wouldn't put Joshua Chiempong at right back. I wouldn't play Malo Gusto, so it only leaves the option for me personally, unless we play Dizazi at right back, which with me would be a disaster. But if we play Reece James I think we give ourselves more defensive depth and also a threat going forward in attack with Reece James down that right side. Now, my lineup for tonight is almost pretty self-explanatory, but let's get into it, because I've gone for what I think is the most likely lineup we're going to see tonight. Now, this is caveated with a lot of we don't knows. We don't know about Colwell. We don't know about Enzo Fernandez. We don't know about Cole Palmer. And we don't know about Romeo Lavia. So I've gone with the team that I think will play. I think there's an argument here to say that some players need a rest, some players need to come back in and to see why they need to be playing 90 minutes every game. But I've gone with Robert Sanchez, again, a goalkeeper that we've spoken about on here many, many times before. He's someone that we're not really confident with going in front of, playing in the goals for us, but I think he's Maresca's number one. There's no other ways about it. He's Enzo Maresca's number one goalkeeper. Jurgensen looked very comfortable at times, but we know that he's going to go with Sanchez as number one. Now, Reece James for me has to start this game, as I've just said. We cannot afford to go into this game and go 1-0 down automatically in the game. We're chasing the game, 10, 15 minutes into it. We have to be on the front foot and we have to make sure that we get the first goal in this game. Now, that sounds very cliche and very obvious, but I think if Wolves go on and score 1, maybe 2 goals in the first half, there's no way back for us. And by no way back, I don't just mean in this game. I mean for the chances of getting top 4. I hang a lot on this game. A lot hangs on this game for me, because this is the game that we have to win. Forget about Saturday just for now. I do think that's going to be a really difficult game on Saturday, but this is the game that if we get back into the top 4 before we play City on Saturday, it almost mentally gives you that advantage going to the Etihad and playing on Saturday at 5:30. So Reece James has to be in that team. Defensively, as I just said, I think he's the better option than Gusto. I think going forward as well, he's going to offer us a lot more, whether that's overlap, underlap, playing through the middle. I think Reece James has got that in his locker to be able to do all 3 of those things. So Reece James right back. Now, Trevor Chalobah, welcome back. Let's give him a round of applause, because he deserves it. He should never have gone in the first place. But he's back. So Trevor Chalobah has to start for me. I want to see Trevor Chalobah ahead of Dizazi, ahead of Tosun, who I thought is putting some really good performances. You got to think back to his 2 goals that he scored in recent times. But Trevor Chalobah has to be in this team. Defensively, we need some consistency and some solidarity in that back line. And I think Trevor Chalobah, Levi Colwell are the 2 centre-back partnership that we probably need to go with the rest of the season. Trevor Chalobah's been really well for Crystal Palace. I'm hearing talks of 40 million being put on him for the summer transfer move. But if he can work his way back into the Chelsea lineup, there's nothing to say that we don't keep Trevor Chalobah at this club. This isn't a case of, yes, he's being sold at the end of the summer. That's the intention, I think, from the owners. But sometimes you have to play so well that the owners can't afford to sell you. Now, Trevor Chalobah has a second option at Chelsea, and I want him to succeed really, really well. He's never been put a foot wrong. He's never spoke bad of the club when he was forced out the club 2 years ago, and even this summer just gone. He's gone to Crystal Palace. He's put in really good performances over there, but he's solid as a defender as well. He's prone to 1 or 2 mistakes, but so is Colwell, so is Cucurella, so is Reece James, so is Virgil van Dijk, so is some of the best centre-backs in the world. So my only worry is he's coming into a team that, I feel like there's a lot of pressure from Chelsea fans on Trevor Chalobah. I feel like a lot's riding on this for him. But if he puts in a solid performance tonight, it's a stepping stone to the City game. It's a stepping stone to the game after that. And, take a game as it comes. But Levi Colwell, his centre-back partnership for me, has been probably one of our more solid centre-backs that we've had this season, accompanied by Marc Cucurella on the left, which is, again, the most consistent left-back, one of the most consistent Chelsea players that we've had this season. Now, the 2 in midfield I've gone for is Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, the 2 that I think we've had to rely on a lot this season, with Romeo Lavia being injured and the options being limited in the midfield. Caicedo's been worthy of his price tag, £100 million plus this season. And I think Enzo Fernandez has put in spells where he's shown that he's got the ability to drive forward the ball. He scored a really good goal against Spurs, I think, a couple of weeks ago as well. So he's got the opportunities for us, Enzo Fernandez. He's got to now kick on and do that consistently, get a couple of more assists, get a couple more goals, help that attacking line, create something going forward as well. That's why we brought him into the team, essentially. Not just for his defensive work, which, if we're being honest, hasn't really been that good, But going forward, he's got to do more for us. So Enzo Fernandez, for me, is the other player that is going to be working alongside Moises Caicedo. Now, I have changed things going forward. We don't know about Cole Palmer. We think that Cole Palmer might be a doubt for this game. But I also think even if Cole Palmer isn't a doubt for this game, I think he's one that I'd put on the bench for tonight, because not only is he a doubt, he's obviously took a knock. He's, recovering from that knock that he picked up against Bournemouth, but we need him for Saturday. Now, he's played probably the most minutes, I think. I haven't got the stats to hand, but I would say arguably him, maybe Levi Colwill, especially in the Premier League, have probably played the most minutes for us this season. He and obviously Nicholas Jackson as well, but he has to be given a rest at some point, because we're going to run him into the ground. We've seen his little knocks and niggles that he's getting now. They could turn into long-term injuries if we're not careful. And we know how important Cole Palmer is at the club. So for me, we have to go with other options. We've got Nkunku, who rumours have come out he wanted to leave. Then there's rumours that he wants to stay. He's happy to stay at the club. There's a lot of talk about Bayern Munich. That deal now looks like it's off. So Nkunku, if he stays, this is an option to play him. Play him in his preferred role as the 10. That's what Maresca said he is, as a 10. Let's play him as the 10. Let's give him an option to do something tonight against Wolves. Now, João Felix and Pedro Neto, not just because of their Portuguese links, but I think both of those deserve an opportunity. Pedro Neto, for me, against his old club, I think would be stupid not to play him. But I also think down that right side, he's going to give you a lot more options than Noni Madueke. We know that Cole Palmer, from what Maresca said, is not preferred at right wing, so we're not going to see him there. So let's play Nkunku as the 10, Pedro Neto on the right, and João Felix, who I think, again, offers you more. He's got I say this every time I talk about João Felix, but he's got that in his locker, the trickery, the ability to beat players, to get the ball to the attackers, to make something happen in that forward line going forward. So for me, João Felix on the left. Now, you could argue maybe Jadon Sancho could fill in that role, but I think having someone like Sancho, Palmer, Madueke off the bench is a good option. Let's start with the two that we think is going to be able to unlock Wolves' defence. Now, Nicholas Jackson. Of course, Nicholas Jackson will start this game. Mark Gu will be essentially on the bench, but I think with Nicholas Jackson, this is a turning point, I think, in Nicholas Jackson's career, because, as much as we praised him when he was doing well for us earlier on this season, we can still criticise him when he's not scoring the goals. And the chances that he gets, he has to convert them into goals. Because I can guarantee you the sporting directors, if they're doing their jobs correctly, will be looking at who they can bring in to replace him next summer. And I said that last week. He can't be the guy playing as he is now, that we go into the Europa League or the Champions League or whatever tournament competition we end up in next season, and the Club World Cup as well, with Nicholas Jackson as our striker. We can't do that. We just can't do that. So this is now Nicholas Jackson's opportunity to step up. Now, he's a grown man. He's a professional footballer. He's going to get criticised throughout his time. Now, he's still relatively young. Some will say that he's raw, but he's got to do more. He has to do more as a Chelsea striker. He must go into that. He must go into Cobham every day and realise the number of strikers that we've had at this club. Demba Bars, Samuel Eto'o, Didier Drogba, Diego Carlos Costa, Tor Andre Flo, Fernando Torres. He must go back and look at some of these strikers that we've had, even some of the ones that necessarily didn't work out, the Shevchenkos and, Chris Suttons and Heidegger Johnsons. I loved Heidegger Johnson, but all these strikers that we've had at the club, Hasselbank, he must look at all of them. And you've got to be at that level, because you're not a club that doesn't expect, you've got to exceed expectation at Chelsea. And Nicholas Jackson has to do that. And I feel like every time I do these videos, I'm pinpointing Nicholas Jackson's the problem. But when you're the guy that's meant to get the goals and you're not doing that, the onus is going to be on you. The spotlight is going to be on you. If we're creating all these chances and we're not converting those chances into goals, there's only so much you can blame the manager and so much you can blame the coaching staff and so much you can blame other people. But sometimes you got to look at yourself and think, right, I've got this chance, have I taken it as best as I can? And Nicholas Jackson probably can't do that right now because he's not taking those chances. So he has to score tonight and do better and get himself on that score sheet, because a lot of these Chelsea fans, especially the ones that go to the games, they're going to be onto him. And us fans that don't always go to the games are going to be onto him. So it doesn't matter. Regardless, he's on borrowed time. Nicholas Jackson is on borrowed, whether people want to agree with it or not, he's on borrowed time, because next season, I can guarantee you these sporting directors will not go through this season. One thing they might not address is a goalkeeper, and they might not address another defender. I guarantee you they will bring in a striker. They will bring in a striker, whether it's the striker we all want, whether it's a Gyökeres or it's an Osimhen or someone of a different nature, they're going to bring in a striker next season regardless. So he's on borrowed time. He has to be scoring goals. He has to start that tonight by playing really well. But that's my lineup. That's my lineup I'm going to go with. Now, my predicted scoreline in this game. Now, bearing in mind, Wolves are actually coming into this game with a bit more better form than we have in recent times. But as I said before, we have got the upper hand in terms of the results that we've got at Stamford Bridge against Wolves. So I'm going to go with 4-1. I actually think we're going to outscore them. I think we're going to play really well. And I think this is probably the best time to play Wolves. This has to be a statement game for us. This has to be a statement game. And by statement game, I mean we have to go out there and prove a point, just like Man City did. Man City's backs have been against the wall the last couple of games. But they went to Ipswich, bearing in mind we lost there. They went to Ipswich and they got a result, and they done it convincingly, 6-0. We have to do the same tonight against Wolves. We have to go there, or they have to come to us, and we have to make sure that we put in a convincing performance to take to the Etihad. Because if we don't, if we lose, if we draw, we can write off top four. If we don't win tonight, let's write off top four. We can't go into this game tonight and not win the game. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. Now, let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are in the description below. Give me your predicted lineups. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video. And also hit that notification, because you never know when the next video might drop. It could be a watch along. You never know. So make sure, if you're into watch alongs and all the rest of it, match reactions, hit the notification bell. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll be back very soon with another video. Thank you very much for watching.